Adam Schiff, who is technically a representative-elect, because technically you're not actually really a congressman right now, which is really weird. I don't even know what to call you. But good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Just don't call me late for the show.
Okay, yeah, you were on time, which is what matters. So you're there. You've never seen anything like this in your lifetime. None of us have. This happened 100 years ago, the last time we had something like this. Take us behind the scenes. Take us in the room. What did it feel like to be there as all of this drama unfolded?
Well, it is, as you say, almost unprecedented. You have to go back a century to find another failed speaker vote. Generally, the party that has the majority gets their act together before you take up a vote like that on the floor. In terms of what it was like to be there, as we listened one after another to Republicans stand up and not vote for their party's nominee, but vote for other people, we were keeping track. You know, 1, 2, 3 people voting for somebody other than McCarthy. We knew they could only afford to lose 4. And when it went above 4, we knew that his nomination was sunk, at least in that round of balloting. And then in the next round, there were other candidates put forward to compete with McCarthy. And instead of the vote shrinking, the vote by the end of the day grew a little bit, but certainly in the wrong direction when it comes to Mr. McCarthy.
Well, it all picks up tomorrow, noontime, D.C., and, of course, we're going to be watching. That's the 4th round of voting. If he does not get the votes again tomorrow, and this goes on and on, what's next? Where do we go from here?
Well, it's a good question. You know, one of the other things I was going to mention about being there today was just the sharp contrast. Every Democrat to a person voted for Hakeem Jeffries and was happy to do so. On the other hand, you had this incredible division within the Republican conference. In terms of what happens tomorrow, I expect one of 2 things will happen. Either overnight, McCarthy will have cut some deal with this rebel group of Republican legislators, and he will get their votes, or we'll have more rounds of voting like we did today, and he will fail, and the Republicans will decide they need to move on to somebody else.
All right, let me ask you about 2 possibilities in terms of them moving on to somebody else. Is Steve Scalise, who right now is the #2 Republican in the House, do you think he's the most likely person that they would move on to?
You know, I think Scalise is well-liked among their conference. And so, yes, if I had to guess, they would be more likely to move to Scalise than they would someone like Jim Jordan. I don't think that McCarthy and those supporting him have much trust in Jim Jordan. When Jim Jordan got up to give his nominating speech for Kevin McCarthy, we were all observing. It sounded a lot more like he was giving a speech for himself. But you're right. I'm kind of an outside observer to all of this. Yeah. But I think that's the conventional wisdom anyway.
Let me ask you about another possibility, which is, say, Steve Scalise or Jim Jordan, the rest of them can't get to 218. There is the Aaron Sorkin scenario, which is somehow there is a sort of Republican elder statesman who gets there with Democrat votes, and that Democrats negotiate a role for themselves in the House, more committeeships, more of a governing role, and that you have an actual coalition government in America like you have in Europe right now. Do you think that's a possibility? And if so, would you be open to voting for a Republican if it meant more Democratic power in Washington?
I think it's a very remote possibility, honestly. That kind of a scenario might have worked better in the past when our politics was less fractious, when the country was less divided. I think any Republican who would support someone other than those that the majority of Republicans want would have a one-way ticket to a losing primary. So it's unlikely that that would happen. But who knows? We're in uncharted waters already. But I think the most likely scenario is they go through successive rounds of this. If they can't muster the votes for McCarthy, they'll move on to someone else. They'll try successive rounds for that person. And then I think out of embarrassment, as much as anything else, of the spectacle they're creating of themselves and their party, they will decide they need to coalesce around somebody in their ranks.
It's just a matter of how many rounds everyone's willing to go. Yes. Okay.
Could be a long week.
Very. 9 a.m. Pacific, that's when the 4th round of voting begins tomorrow. Congressman-elect Adam Schiff, Thank you for being with us tonight, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Coming up.